Good afternoon and welcome to the Building Inspection App webinar. My name is Keith, and during this session I'll be walking you through various aspects of the Building Inspection App account and various functionality within that account. If you bear with me, I'll share my screen and I'll start demonstrating further on. So bear with me a moment until I get my screen shared. On your screen, you should be able to see the dashboard. This is the account that I'm logged in, and in this session, I'll be covering various areas within the dashboard. If we can look here, we can see the main navigation item. We've got a few items within the main areas, particularly under the CRM forms, which we will be covering some areas here today. Particularly the dashboard will look at the form templates, where you can find all the templates that we have created for this account, as well as create or replicate existing ones. Resources, which can come in handy for uploading any marketing materials or other things that you would like to be referencing at a later stage, as well as jobs. Obviously, jobs is highly important because this is where we capture new job requests and dispatch these to the field officers, particularly building inspectors, as well as auto communications that go to the customers through various setups that we refer to under the job type templates. Without further ado, I'd like to walk you through one of the reports. So if we go under the forms sections, maybe we can go under the dashboard so we can see a snapshot of that. Under the existing templates, we can have a quick look there to see what sort of templates there are. We've got approximately 13 or so industry standard readily available reports, as well as a number of agreements that can be used. So the agreements are digitally presented as web forms, and these can be shared with clients ahead of time. So in this case, we want to look for a pre-purchase inspection report. You can see that we can easily search through the search panel here, and the results appear dynamically below. The report that I want to show you is going to be the pre-purchase building inspection report, which is over here. However, for me to show you what this will look like once we present it to a customer, I'm going to show you and walk you through the PDF version of the report. As you can see, once we load up the report, we can see a nice image of the property. So this can be easily adjusted and updated per property so that it reflects the client's property. The logo in this particular case, we've got the Building Inspection App. This will obviously represent your logo once you create the account, as well as the name of the report and other relative information in regards to the address, as well. This particular one relates to the AS 4349.1 industry standard. Further on in the report, we can see that there's all these general requirements and information covering areas that we will be inspecting, as well as other areas which we won't inspect. Building inspection reports content. So this particular section is the table of contents within this report. As you can see, it's color coded for easy access, and your customers can easily identify the various areas within the report. We can see client details that is going to be pre-populated for us, as well additional information about the agreement and the inspection provider. Further on, we can see in the third section of the report, a report summary. Now, this is a dynamic summary that appears in this section so that as a customer starts to review the report, they can see a quick summary at a glance prior to having gone through the details of the report. So here we can see quickly if there were any issues with access or safety, as well as a quick summary in the bottom that identifies any minor, major, or safety hazard that has been identified. As we progress in the document, we can see additional information about the property. So these are unique features or descriptions about the property. which we can see here, things like brick veneer, cladding, etc., that identify the property. And further on, there's going to be these sections where it's clearly identified any areas where we have been unable to inspect. So it identifies the areas and the reasons for the obstructions as well. You can see that the report displays images nicely that are relevant to particular areas where we found issues, and we can document these by providing additional information. As we progress further, we arrive to the section 6, where we can identify findings and observations. Findings and observations in this section are categorized by a number of defect classifications, which are identified and described below here. As we go through, this will now list the rooms available in the house. And so there's going to be a photo and a description per room that has been inspected. Typically, the report will have all of these options available to choose from. And if there's any specific rooms that the name is not there, you can easily add one of your own. We keep scrolling through and we arrive to the roof exterior. So these are just various sections of the house that we've inspected. And obviously the images are going to be highlighting those issues together with some comments describing the problems identified during the inspection. There's a section here for conclusions. And further down, we're going to see again the terms and conditions within this report. Towards the end of the document, we should be seeing the signatures. So this is something that we can either capture on site if we present the report at that time, or the client can receive it and sign it to return it to us later. But also signing for reference for their records as well. So that's pretty much in a nutshell the report itself. What I want to do next is jump back to the portal, and I want to show you a little bit more around the job section. So in the job section, we've got some options here to view jobs or create jobs. And typically there's going to be numerous ways of achieving a similar result. In this case, with creating a job. But before we go there, I want to explain to you guys the job type templates that we refer to. So job type templates, what is it? In this area, we've got a set of job types that we have created, and these can be used for different services that you offer. In this particular case, I want to look at the pre-purchase building inspection, because this is the one that we're setting up a job for. So if I click on that particular item, we can see that now it opens up the details for that particular job service. This particular one, again, is the job for pre-purchase building inspection, and we've got the title as well. So this is the title, and the description will appear in the job itself, and the description will appear in the job notes as well. So we can add more information here if we needed to. We also got the scheduler color. So if you recall the prior page we arrived to on this one, there were a list of colors on the side, which will help us identify if we're looking for these type of jobs in the scheduler. We can easily identify any jobs that are in black, which is this particular one we're looking at, that they're all going to be related to a pre-purchase building inspection. So just help us identify jobs easier from the scheduler. We can set up a duration for this job, typically is roughly around the 2-hour mark. However, these are just guides. So we can adjust the job duration on the job itself when we're creating it as required. Similar with priorities. As you can see, this particular job will require a couple of forms. We've got one under the web form section, and this particular one is the pre-purchase building inspection agreement. This is a web form, which means that we can send it ahead of time to the customer so they can review, sign it, and return to us. Next, we can see in the job form section, that we've got the pre-purchase building inspection report. And this is the report that I've just showed you in PDF format. But obviously, in this case, it will be an incomplete brand new report that the building inspector will have available to them when they go to the job on site, and they can complete it as they're going through the various rooms within the property. The job type template enable us to effectively enable safety forms. So if you have a requirement within your business that you need to complete certain safety forms before, we can load them up here. And then there's a rule that determines whether a job can commence prior to a safety form being completed or not. If that's marked as it has to be completed, then that means we cannot start the job form prior to completing those safety forms. As we progress further up top here on the tabs, we can see that there are other options. I might click the save button. I know I didn't really make any changes, but it's really good practice as you progress to some of these configurations to always save, as sometimes it could be that you lose information if you forget to save. Job status and updates. So this is where the cleverness of Smart Assist comes into play. In this particular example, we've got some automated communications. And as you can see here, there's a number 1, which indicates that there is one setup automated communication. This one is a pre-purchase building inspection automated communication, which is telling us that it's going to send a communication type of email. There are several other options. We can send SMS, we can create letters, or there are some other reminders which are typically more useful for internal, such as tasks and lead reminders as well. You can see that we can easily enable or disable this communication. Particularly, it's helpful to disable while you are configuring something. And then once you're happy with the setup, you can enable it and save it. The trigger for this particular communication is going to happen when the job is created. But as you can see from the list available here, we've got other triggers that we can use in different circumstances. We will be emailing this to a contact email. So this is going to be the customer. However, if you want to add or review any other of the options available, as the tip here suggests, you can click Control and click the space bar, which will give you a list of the available fields we can use here. Again, we probably do not want to complicate things further. However, in this particular instance, we simply want to include the email of the recipient. As you can see, we can also modify the job with also using placeholders. So in this particular case, the subject is going to be the job booking with a job type as well as the location. And we've got a predefined email template. So this is going to automatically be sent to the client upon one of these jobs being created. So it says, hi, contact name. So this will be the contact name we've got on record for that customer. And then it carries on by saying, thank you for your booking and job type. So it's a description of the job type. In this case, it's a pre-purchase building inspection with business name. So that will be your business name. Our technician will arrive at location. So this is going to be the address of the inspection on this due time and date. Please ensure, so we're just reminding them to complete the agreement, which we have included as a link here as a web form, and including additional notes if they have any questions. We're going to include the business name with kind regards from the business name here. We can also preview as well. As we progress again further up in the tab navigation, we've got the next section, which is about future reminders. So future reminders are going to be useful for things like ahead of the job. So we can do reminders before the job or after the job completes. And this particular configuration, which will be available if you have the building inspection app on your account, it will be available as part of the configuration that we've done for you. So here you can see that there's going to be an email reminder that is currently enabled to send out 2 days before the due date. And similar to the email, we can see that it's going to send to the recipient's email. So this is our customer. And similarly, where we have the job type reminder with the location and some additional information about that specific job. So again, these are very handy just for the sake of automation. And that means that you don't have to remember to send out these reminders manually ahead of the job. And once any job type is created with a specific job service within it, then it's going to pick up and action these automations for us, making things easier. Further up in the tab, we've got line items. So this is telling the job type template that we can create an invoice or a quote whenever we create one of these jobs. Probably invoice will be more suitable because at this point, if we are booking a job in, that means that perhaps we've already sent them a quote that they have accepted. And in which case now we are booking the job, assigning the inspector to the job as well. And so naturally, the next thing that would happen after the job completes is going to be to issue the invoice to the customer. So we can set it up and we can add line items here. Often there could be a case where the unit amount for the service may vary from customer to customer or the different types of services that they might request. But do not worry about this because the invoices can always be amended at the time you want to share them as well. And the last tab in this section is going to be the recurring. So recurring, particularly for jobs that perhaps occur on a recurrence basis, perhaps even if you're doing like pre-purchase inspection with pest inspection as well. So that could be something perhaps we could repeat, not in this particular job, but if we wanted the job to be a recurring instance, we select the option and there will be some further options that we can select here. Excellent. Now that we have completed our job type template, we can take a look at creating a job. Now, as mentioned previously, there are a number of ways where we can create a job. We can create it under the jobs as a new job. However, I'd like to show you from the scheduler, as this is going to be a common area where you're going to be likely working more frequently here. So as we can see from the job scheduler, we can set up some various configurations in terms of use. We've got day, week, and month. I like to use week because it kind of gives me a good focus of where we are. I can move to this week and I can create an event for today at maybe let's say it's 2 p.m. We can drag and draw on those sections. And this will open the job details page. So here we can start by going from left, can find the billing customer. In this case, I'm just going to use a sample customer, which we'll put here. As you can see, because we've already got some additional information stored on the record, we can see those items populating. Additionally, you can import your users from Xero or QuickBooks, or create one manually if you don't have those on record somewhere else. The next section of the job we will look at is the assignee. If you've noticed in the prior screen, I did draw not on my resource. I'm Keith, so I'm just going to reassign that to myself. We can also assign it to additional assignees if we needed more than one inspector to attend the job. But this is not something we require for this particular job. So I'm going to leave the date and time as per the specified information here. And moving further to the job details. This is where we're going to select the job type. If you recall, just previously we created one for pre-purchase building inspection, and we've seen that this particular one should have a couple of forms attached to it. So let's select it and see what happens. We can see that immediately once selected, it provides the job title, which was recorded already. It creates a job number, and we've got an option for an order number. There's some latest notes as well, which we can edit or view. But more importantly, we can see that automatically this job type has associated and linked two forms for us. one of which being the agreement, the web form, and the report that the building inspector will use whilst on site during the inspection. You can see that both of them are outlined in red, which indicate that they have not yet been completed. We can also see that the job type invoice is going to be attached. And we can add some additional value. These are more for marketing purposes and they can be adjusted later on if need be. But for this particular example, we don't really need to get into that particular detail. We also notice that there's a new tab here that once we've selected the customer, it showed up this information, which gives us a quick access to the information within this customer. So we can go and review their billing, contacts, or location details, and do all sort of things to manage and update this contact. So I'm happy with the setup of this particular job. There's nothing further here, but before I dispatch it, I might as well show you a few other options that we have within this job creation. So in fact, I'll actually dispatch to make sure that I don't lose any of the information, because every time we dispatch, this is going to save the job for us, making sure that nothing is going to get missed. We can see that quickly it corrected that from assignment from Tom to the correct assignee, which is myself in this case. Just gonna click here and edit, just to show you a few more details of information that we have on the job. If we see similar to other areas within the system, we've seen that there are tab navigations. We can click the recurring. If this was a recurring job, we're going to see information about that. But the one area which I want to show you is the forms section. As you can see, there's those two forms which we know are being attached to this job. But this is quite important. So if you want to update any details within these forms prior to getting them to the customer, particularly for the agreement, we would want to do that here. So let's scroll down and find the agreement first, which is this one here. We click on it and we can go through it to make sure that the details that are in there are correct, which they should be because they've been imported from the record within CRM here, but it's a good opportunity for us to review any of the information. Particularly, I'm looking for the section about the pricing so that the customer can see this information, but also if we pre-populate it, that means that the customer cannot go in and put in their own information in this field. So I'm just going to type in 550 for this example. I'm just going to leave it at that. The rest of the information can all be completed by the client upon receiving of this acknowledgement. So I'm going to dispatch, which means that it will save it and put it in preparation for the client to receive it with the automated communication as well. So again, now the job is fully completed. And so we went from looking at a job type template where we've done the pre-configuration for you. These are all set up and ready to go on the account. And the next thing is we have created the job itself through the scheduler. Now, naturally, the next thing that would happen in the sequence of events is the building inspector would have received notification on the app telling them that there's been a job assigned to them, and the customer received the information that we've just covered previously. So which is the email confirmation saying that the job has been booked, as well as the agreement for them to sign. So the next thing I would like to do is jump from the screen, load up the app, and show you how the building inspector will interact with the app, open the job, and then start using the form. So bear with me until I switch screens. All right, so now we have loaded the app. So imagine the building inspector is offsite, has received notification of this job, or was notified prior as well. Because typically we're not gonna just book a job at the date and time that is required, but there's obviously a notification that happens ahead of time. So the building inspector can open the app. As you can see, we are on the landing page of the app where we can see quick access to forms, jobs, resources, contacts, accounts, diary or scheduler, as well as sales leads and other helps and settings within the app. But for this particular example, we want to navigate to the job section. As you can see, there's a quick indication of how many jobs I have. And when I click the suitcase, I can see the 3 jobs that are available to me within the system. We know that the last one we created, which was for this client, John Citizen, and was scheduled for the 12th of April at 2 p.m. So this is the particular job that I'm interested in. I'm going to click on it. This is going to give me a snapshot of information about the job and the client details. As well, we can click on these options and see other job notes, locations, or client details as well. Further down, we can see that there's other options. There's also an invoice which has been created for this particular job. But I'm interested in starting the job at this moment. So we can click the Start Job option, and we can see that it's going to show us the 2 forms that we have in the system. The inspection agreement is showing a status of pending your review. So it is presumed that the customer received it, signed it, and returned it to us. And it's just a matter for us to accept that agreement. Now, I'm happy with that. So I'm more intrigued with the job form per se. So I'm going to open this and we're going to run through it. So as a building inspector, filling up the report whilst on site during the inspection, I obviously don't need to see all of the information that we typically present in the PDF report for the customer. Things such as the terms and conditions that are typically at the entrance point of the document. So they're not included in this section to make navigating the document much easier for us. So I want to particularly look at a couple of pieces of information within this report. Obviously, we can see the client details and all of this information, which is linked to the CRM job, to the CRM record within this customer, and it's all available within that section. The 2 particular areas that I'm interested here are the areas we were unable to inspect. So we can have a look at that and start filling them up. The reason I'm jumping is, as you can see, there are some information about the agreement, which again, I just don't want to spend too much time on that. And there's report summary. At this point, the report summary is going to be blank because we haven't completed the report yet. But the reason I came to these areas of inspection are due to updating these areas are going to automatically result in updates in the report summary, which I'll show you shortly. So let's have a look and complete some of these items to see these updating above. So obstructed access to certain areas, we're going to say yes. What areas were these? As you can see, the report itself is going to give you a selection of options, which typically covers a whole range of areas available. So let's select the interior area. Again, we can see a new section that popped up below. So interior obstructions could have it been furniture, flooring, fixtures, etc. We can say this was furniture. If the item we want to describe is not available in the listed options here, we can type something manually in this section here. We can also add photos, and we can add additional comments describing the issues discovered. And so on. These, if there's multiple items, we can click next. It's going to give us a fresh new section, and then we can continue populating those areas. There's another area for restricted access. This is in the case where something was logged, perhaps. We can say yes, several doors logged, for example. And we can repeat that process and attach photos, describe them. We can put photos from our phone. So we can import photos that will look from our phone library, or we can obviously snap using the camera on site. There's several high-risk areas here. Again, I'm just going to complete a few of these options just to show you what the result of these will look like later on. And we can put a photo comment. And similarly, we can snap a photo or import one that we've taken earlier and just upload it to the report there. Okay. Findings and observations. I'm just going to jump in that section, as this now will start getting into the details of each specific areas of the property being inspected. So let's say that the finding and observation in this instance relate to building interior. We can see there's the list of classification, of the defects classification. And then as I click the items above, we can see that there's a building interior, which is the option we clicked here. So we're going to say we're going to also report on findings and observations on the exterior of the building. We scroll down, and now we can see that there's an edit section there that is available to us to use. Building interior, we can select the room name. There's going to be a list of rooms available that we can select. Similar to prior items, if the room that we're looking for is not described in the options available, we can type one manually. Were there any defects in relations to this room? We're going to say yes. We're going to open the defects, and we're going to describe the defect here. Now we can say it was a minor, major, or a safety hazard. Let's say this was a major defect. We can select from the defect classification. So there's the options available here. Let's say this particular issue was related to a damage. And this is the nice part where we're going to have additional options here to choose where the damage is occurring. Let's say this one particularly is on the ceiling. And there's going to be descriptions about ceiling related damages. So these are being pulled from the database in CRM, and you can add or adjust these as you go, but they're quite handy. So particularly if you're obviously on site trying to complete the report, there's going to be these tips provided to you, and over time you can create more and adjust them so that they really fit within your kind of business process and routine when you're doing the building inspection. So that's pretty much the gist of it. You would repeat the same process for other areas and other rooms within the house. But again, for the sake of this demonstration, I don't perhaps have to complete the entire report. I'm just going to go back to the initial part and show you the section where earlier I mentioned that there was the summary. And now we can see that when we open the report summary, which I haven't opened or touched previously, but this is that snapshot that is very useful to your clients when they start looking at the report. They're going to see sections that have identified issues and providing a quick snapshot summary for them to note what certain defects, whether minor, major, or safety hazards, were identified. So this is really the gist of what I wanted to show in terms of completing the report. Again, all these reports that are available in your building inspection app account are all industry standard, as well as they can be adjusted or tweaked to really fit your process and how you prefer to go about your inspection process whilst on site. Now, for the last time, I will switch again between the app and go into the portal. And from there, I want to show you the last bit before we come to an end of this webinar, where we will cover the submitted form section, just to show you what happens after these reports are submitted into the system. So bear with me a moment until I switch screens again, and we'll be back on the portal. Okay, now we are back in the portal, and we're in the forms dashboard section. And the area I wanted to show you is the submitted forms section. So any forms that we manually submit through the app or the portal, they're going to appear in this section. We can see that there's a number of pre-configured folders that these forms will be stored into. And we've got a few options here for pre-purchase reports, agreements, general inspection reports, as well as submitted forms. So if I had gone through the process, completed the form end to end, and then submitted the form as a ready form, then that would appear in the submitted form section area here. This is a good place. Some businesses may choose to have like a process within their form completions, so that someone in the office might be able to look at the submitted forms in this area and make sure that they're cleaned up, and if there's any typos or things of that nature, they can revise it prior to sending it to the client. There's other building inspectors that will do this process as part of their sending the reports to the clients, or you can pretty much send it as soon as you finish from the inspection on site. So it's pretty straightforward and easy to use. But for any other future reference, if you wanted to come and check information within any of your submitted forms or reports, you can find them in this area. This pretty much completes the topics I wanted to cover for today during this webinar. But before I go, I wanted to make sure that everyone is aware where the help sections are. This is quite helpful if you're looking for some how-to information or additional knowledge to help you with the system. Particularly the user guides or any updates that we are releasing. But you can also contact and get in touch with the support team here. And there's a convenient chatbot as well, chat box that you can use to communicate directly with the support team. Lastly, if you are a already formatized user and want to opt into the building inspection pack, you can use your phone to scan the QR code here, which will enable you to opt into this pack. Alternatively, if you are new to building inspection or formatize, you can scan the first QR code and we can arrange for you a free demo session where you can talk with one of our experts in-house and they can address your specific queries case by case. Or if you are if you are a new user, you're not any of the prior items described, you can start for free. There's a 2-week free trial period where you can try the system fully with all the modules available for 2 weeks without any commitments. So thank you for your time today. I appreciate your time with us during this webinar. Please feel free to continue reaching out to us if you have any questions or queries that you'd like us to assist you with. All the best, and thank you very much.